So today we're going to be talking about the importance of using songtales in your classroom. I certainly think that I'm probably preaching to the choir when I say that reading to children uh, is so vitally important. In fact, current research suggests that students' listening comprehension outperforms their reading comprehension through 8th grade, which means that we need to make sure that children are being read aloud to throughout their pre-K, elementary school, and through middle school. That is not to say that high school students don't need to be read aloud to. In fact, that was one of my favorite parts of my advanced literature courses that I took in high school. It just is so vitally important for pre-K through 8th graders because it helps develop their listening comprehension while they are still developing some automaticity with their ability to read. And my apologies, as you know, I do have asthma and I cough a lot. Now, it's really important when we are reading to kids that we are reading really high quality literature that is unquestioned quality, and literature that we know is going to ignite the imagination and introduce them to a delicious narrative that they're going to want more of. I know I distinctly remember being a little kid and my classroom teacher reading aloud a book and then saying, "Oh, we're out of time for today." And I just was so desperate to know what was going to happen next that oftentimes whatever book we were reading aloud in class, I would check out from the library and read ahead of time so that I would know what was going to happen because I just couldn't wait. That's exactly what we want for kids. Now, the same is true with songs that we're going to be singing for our kids. Now, I've modeled several song tales for you. I have a number of song tales that are also recorded on my YouTube channel. But I want you to know that the same reasons that you read to your child are reasons that you would sing to your child. So we read to kids to introduce them to higher level text. We read to kids so that they can hear an excellent reading model that has appropriate pace and is fluent and is inflected and expressive. And those are all the same reasons that we want to do song tales for kids. So we want to sing songs with appropriate expression, and we want to sing stories that are delicious and exciting, and we want to sing songs that introduce them to more complicated melodies than they're singing with their pedagogical music. All the same reasons that we would read aloud to a child, we'd sing aloud to a child. But because of the nature of singing, it's also vitally important that when we sing to kids, we introduce to them an appropriate vocal model. So much of the music that our kids are hearing on the radio today is very strident in quality, and we want to make sure that we're modeling what we want to get back from the kids. So we don't want kids to sing like that when they're small because when their voices are not mature, it can do long-term vocal damage and also can prevent them from developing characteristic tone of a child if they're always focused on trying to sound like they're on the radio. So as teachers, we don't want to have a radio voice. We want to have a kid voice. So when we sing a song tale is one of the opportunities that we have to be a really appropriate vocal model. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't times in a song tale for you to be strident like you would have me on the radio, but for the most part, we want to be demonstrating to them exactly the kind of sound we would want to get back from them. So song tales are such an exciting way for you to introduce your students to new stories. There are many. I have dozens of books in my personal library that are intended to be sung, but there are some important things that you should know about song tales that might be controversial in some ways. So first of all, song tales, whenever they're presented for the first time, and again, I'm using the word song tale to just describe a story that is sung, a song tale, a story that is sung, should be memorized and presented to the students from memory the first several times. Now, should you have a book like the dozens of books that I have in my library that are intended to be sung, I am still going to recommend to you that upon the first, second, maybe even the third hearing of that story, you just do it from memory without the support of the book. And there's a good reason for that. The thing is that unlike the books that we are reading to our children for read aloud time, where the focus is on developing fluency, pace, and expressivity with print words, in music what we're wanting is to develop expressivity, fluency, pace with musical sounds. So music is an aural tradition, aural meaning ear, and oral tradition meaning mouth. And it wasn't only until very recently in modern history that music notation was developed. It's only been around for about 1,000 years, and all of the years that people have been alive. So it's an oral art, and it should be presented that way. It is kind of an interesting concept to think about when you tell a story for the first time to a kid, to tell a story from print, from memory as well. In doing so, you allow the child to develop their own pictures. And we know that visualization is such an important reading comprehension strategy. So I actually have done this experiment with 2 classes of first graders in which I read to them. I read to both classes. Well, I told to one class and read to another class the story of the Cat in the Hat. Now, I use the same expressivity, inflection, etc. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play. So we sat in the house all that cold, cold, wet day. I sat there with Sally. We sat there, we two. And I said, how I wish we had something to do. And then something went bump. How that bump made us jump. When we looked and we saw him step in on the mat, we looked and we saw him, the cat in the hat. And he said to us, why do you sit there like that, etc. So I told the whole story from memory to one group, and I read the book and showed the pictures to the other group. At the end of this reading or telling part of the experiment, I asked the kids what they remembered about the story. So the kids who had seen the pictures told me information about the pictures. They told me that the cat had a funny hat. They told me that there were 2 little people with funny hair. They told me that there was a pink ring in the bathtub. They told me a whole bunch of information about the pictures. Now, the kids that didn't see the pictures, and I fully admit that many of the students were familiar with the story, maybe even have seen the movie version. But the kids who only heard the story and did not see the pictures told me things like, the cat caused a bunch of trouble. The cat and thing 1 and thing 2 made a humongous mess, but they cleaned it all up before Mom got home. Now, which version of child retelling is more germane to the actual story? So the kids who were focusing on the pictures noticed things in the pictures that really are not that germane to the story, like the pink bathtub or the fact that thing 1 and thing 2 have blue hair. I mean, that's not important. So when they were able to tell me that the cat came and caused a bunch of trouble, but made it all okay again before Mom came home, that demonstrated to me that their visualization skills helped them to better comprehend what I was telling them. Now, again, my focus as the music teacher is not on the print word. My focus is on the emotion that's communicated through art. And so in doing that experiment that way in my classroom, it was revealed to me that I should present songtales from memory because it allows kids to make up their own movie. Now, like I said, I've got dozens of songtale books. So after the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th time that I sing the story to the kids, then I show the pictures as one artist's representation of what the story could look like. Not the way the story looks, but just one interpretation. When I do that, it legitimizes whatever interpretation the student had with their own mental visualizations, which is just, I think, another way to support their children in their own creative mindset. So song tales, important to do, important to present from memory, important that they have rich, delicious stories about which the kids want to know more, that there's humor involved, or maybe there's a puppet that can help you act the story out. Whatever you need to do, particularly if multiple voices in the story, which is harder to do when you're singing than it is to do when you are speaking. I can sound kind of funny, but it's very hard for me to sing like that. So, just something to keep in mind when you're doing song tales with your kids. Now, like I said, I'm going to model a number of song tales for you throughout this semester to give you plenty of ideas of things that you can use in your future classroom. And I hope that this video has found you well. Thank you.